Call to order this regular Board of Directors meeting for the Siloam Springs Board of Directors, October 17, 2023. Roll call.
Blair.
Here.
Smiley. Wiles.
Here.
Hunt. Rissler.
Here.
Allen.
Here.
Carroll.
Here.
At this time, I would like to ask that you please stand with me as Director Allen leads us in prayer, and please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us here safely tonight to help us come together to make the wisest decisions for the betterment of our citizens as well as the city as a whole. Help look after the United States of America and our military overseas and here at home. Look after all of our state government officials as they travel. Look after Mayor Judy as she travels working the job for the city of Siloam and the citizens of Siloam. We ask this in Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, I would like to ask that anyone that has an electronic device, please make sure that is silenced so we do not have interruption during the meeting. And thank you for that. Next is our public input time. And I would ask if there is anyone here that would like to address the board on any item that is not on our regular agenda. And if so, you may come to the podium, give us your name, address, and you will have 3 minutes. Is there anyone that would like to speak to the board?
Blake Jones, Siloam Springs. I would ask that I'd be given a couple extra minutes like other people have so that I can go over these things, if that's okay with the board.
Actually, Blake, I have told other people in the past that I need you to keep it to 3 minutes, but I will restart that so you have the full 3 minutes, okay?
I was going to ask because Mr. Carroll's son had extra time just in the last meeting, so I was going to be asked if I would be awarded the same.
I will give you a minute over.
Thank you.
Blake, if you will, please pull the mic down. Thank
Sure.
you, sir.
How do we change this on here before I start?
I'm sorry.
How do I change what's on the board?
I think we have to do that at the back.
You have to change it there?
No, hang on just a second. How does he change what's showing up here, Christina? Do we have any?
So I guess this kind of be kind of hard since I can't change it manually. I can?
See these tabs up here?
These are the only 3 that are on here?
That's what I was given. To you.
Okay. All right, I'll start now. So this is from April 10th, the one that I gave you before, and Brenna is telling my attorney that I couldn't have the videos because they were unredacted. As you all know, that was false. Because the next email that I have is from Martha Hayes, and since she told me that I couldn't have them, then she actually told, because that's this one, then the next one she sent the very next day, and that was to Derek Spicer. And she said, FYI, I spoke to his attorney. He is also convinced that you all redacted parts that you shouldn't have, so you will likely need to get ready for a fight. I tried to convince him otherwise that you were redacting biographical information or ACIC information. He said in the past there was different indicators. But she says, I told him we wouldn't do an in-chambers on closed investigations, and we do not even have unredacted copies of these recordings to provide to the court. That was correct because you never had them because you muted the microphones, which the officers admitted that they did. They also told you and the board that that wasn't against the policy. So now I have the policy. And the policy OPR 3-09-4 says that officers must ensure that their equipment is operating to record traffic stops or other enforcement actions. It says that the digital recorder must be positioned and adjusted to record events. The actions of suspects during interviews must be recorded. And it also says that officers shall not in any manner attempt to alter the MDR. So that was a violation of the policy each and every time that he did that. I have a letter that's also from Christina Patricius, which was the acting administrator at the time. And she was going to question the police department for the Arkansas State Police. She said, aside from the issue of shutting off the microphone every time the sergeant walked away from Mr. Jones, which is the department's explanation of the silence, there are several other accusations, including the following. So she actually talked to the department, and they said that every time they went to speak to these people who were under a criminal investigation for attempting to murder me, that the officers turned their microphone off. Now, I'm sure that's okay with you guys, but that's not okay with your policy, and that's not lawful. So then we move on to the next one. And your investigation that was given to the board. The board, they said that on May 2023, they reviewed all pertinent reports, documents, audio, and video, unredacted and redacted, which I just showed 2 weeks ago. That's not possible because you didn't redact anything because the officers muted their microphone, which makes this investigation a lie as well. So between the prosecutor, the investigation, and what the Siloam Springs officers admitted to doing, it shows that you collaborated together to work together. So today I had Sergeant Marshall at my home, and I began pressing charges against these people. So anyone who's involved, I will continue to press charges against them as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? If not, I would ask if there is anyone that would like to address the board on any item that is on our consent agenda. And there being no one, we would move on to the consent agenda. Item A, regular meeting minutes, October 3rd, 2023. Item B, budget workshop minutes, October 9, 2023. Item C, pre-agenda meeting minutes, October 11, 2023. Item D, Resolution 59-23, Airport Hangar Significant Development Permit Waiver, 4431 Smithfield Drive. Item E, Resolution 60-23, Adopt 2024 Budget. Item F, Resolution 61-23, Adopt 2024 Compensation Plan. That is the consent agenda. Directors, is there anything that you would like to have pulled for further discussion? If not, I would ask if there is a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. We have a motion and a second to approve. Roll call.
Wiles.
Yes.
Rissler.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Blair.
Yes. Motion is approved. Next is our contracts and approvals. Item G is a lease agreement, Simmons Prepared Foods Incorporated, dark fiber cable. That would be Phil Stokes giving us the briefing.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. Phil Stokes, Electric Director. Basically, this is a contract we have with Simmons to run fiber from their 28 Springs building to their headquarters. There's just a gap there that we needed to run, and this is a 3-year lease, and they've agreed to do that. And then you can see the numbers there, and it'd pay for itself within 3 years. So available for any questions you might have.
Thank you. Directors, any questions or comments for Phil? If not, is there anyone in the audience that would like to address this? If not, I will come back to the directors, and I will remind you, because we do have 2 absent tonight, that it does take 4 affirmative votes to pass the item that we're voting on. So just so we are aware of that before we vote. So I would ask, do I have a motion to approve the lease agreement with Simmons Prepared Foods?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Wiles,
Yes.
Rissler,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Carroll,
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Next is item H with contract Sager Creek Improvements, Freese and Nichols Incorporated for $332,685. And Travis, are you presenting that?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good evening, Board. Mayor Nation, Travis Cheney, Parks and Recreation Manager. Bringing before you a recommendation to pursue a contract with Freese and Nichols for work on Sager Creek. Of course, we've been in front of you during a couple of pre-agenda meetings, and there were quite a few questions which we've tried to answer in this presentation. And so to bring everyone up to speed, these recommendations came out of the Sager Creek Advisory Committee that was established in 2022. And that committee was to review previous studies that the city had funded on Sager Creek, going back about 20 years, to try to harmonize the recommendations made in those studies, and then to bring a list of priority projects to the board. Our timeline on this project has been this. In July of 2022, staff presented the recommendations from the Sager Creek Advisory Committee. And then August of 2022, the board adopted the 2023-24 board goals, including prioritizing the recommendations made by that committee. In October of 2022, the board requested to put $500,000 in the budget for Sager Creek improvements. And then starting in 2023, staff released the RFQ, request for qualifications, for engineering services for this project. And in 2023, began scoring statements of qualification. Went through that process, had an initial meeting with Freese and Nichols in May to begin developing scope. Met again in June to refine the scope. And then August 15th, we received the first kind of finalized scope with our first look at a budget from Freese and Nichols. Put that through attorney review, received that back in August 24th, and then came to y'all at the September 13th pre-agenda meeting. After that meeting, the scope was reduced on the project just to include 3 elements requested by the board, looking at structural components of the overhang, the historic dam, and the Maxwell Street wall. Those elements are highlighted here in yellow. The overhang would be in the bottom left-hand corner. Maxwell Street wall, of course, is on Maxwell Street, and the dam is the furthest down street element. And I know a few folks had some questions, particularly about the overhang, because that was the element that was prioritized most, both by the firms that did the study and by the Sager Creek Advisory Committee. There were some questions asked. Do we know how soon it might collapse, what the likelihood is? And so I wanted to just go back into that study and bring some of that language out for y'all to potentially help in the decision-making process. Long story short is it's, of course, very hard to know when something like this might collapse, but the on-site overhang exceeded 4 to 9 feet cutting in with an estimated 15 tons of overburden, so the weight pressing down on it. The load and the type of horizontally striated rock will result in catastrophic failure when load exceeds the rock loading capacity. So, of course, it could happen at any time, but the firm that did this study considered the addition of the support system for this overhang to be a high priority and one that needs to be completed at the earliest funding opportunity. So that is kind of the background behind that overhang. It extends for about 200 feet from the Twin Springs, the old, where you step down to this area right here. This overhang begins immediately adjacent to the old spring and extends almost down to the West University Street, Mount Olive Bridge, about 200 feet. And then the second component of this project would be replacing the sluice gates and making some minor repairs to the historic dam downtown. Just quoting from the most previous study. The dam itself has leakage points at several locations across the face of the dam. A previous inspection of the dam indicated minor leakage at both abutments, and some repairs by adding concrete to reduce leakage has been done. We currently see the priority of repairs to the dam as a moderate to high priority. And then also there would be some continued inspection and construction drawings for the stonework on Maxwell Street wall, which is one of the older kind of laid up stone walls right now that is seems to be in the worst shape. Just to remind y'all, the initial scope and fee included these elements. They've been removed in the revised fee, and the current fee is down below there. And again, this will just include basically the structural elements of the repairing the dam, the rock overhang, and looking at the Maxwell Street wall. And staff stands ready to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Travis. Directors?
Madam Mayor.
Yes, Ken.
Travis, if this is approved, when are they projecting to start?
November, the first week of November.
And would these 3 projects be consecutive or concurrent?
They would be concurrent.
Okay. And then what, do they have any guesses to the length of, I know probably one won't take as long as number 3,
Sure.
but do they have a time frame?
I don't have it up here. It's 14 months. Is that right, Kevin?
Kevin Moore, city engineer. Yes, the full contract for their services was 14 months to develop all these plans and do the floodplain study that they would need to do. And then we could construct them individually at that point at the board's pleasure.
So is it in November that the floodplain study would begin? Or is that when they would actually start?
In November, the city would drain the creek and let the surveyors get down in there and do the study. So they'd be doing the inspections and the study at that point. And then I assume, and Kevin, you'd be able to speak to it more clearly than I would. A lot of that data is taken back, and then they're using that data to start their drawings, to run their models on the flood study. Part of it is because currently we have a big void here that we would be potentially filling with concrete. And so we would need to understand how that action could potentially affect flood models.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just asking,
Sure.
for no particular reason, but the information. Have they indicated how long the study might take? I mean, are we looking at spring before actual work begins, or do you have any idea at all?
Well, by my understanding, the study would start right away in November. I don't, Kevin, if you can remember exactly how long the creek would be drained, it shouldn't take too long once the creek is drained.
Their initial plan was to drain the creek the week of the 13th to kind of get eyes on everything, and then they may need to drain it a second time later on during the contract just for any verification or if they miss anything, but that would essentially be the only time that they're draining the creek, and then they would go back and do the design work. And I'm seeing if I can pull up the dates on that.
And so the creek draining, of course, is to capture elevations, do the surveying work. But once that's done, then it's a lot of the design work is happening in the office.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Madam Mayor.
David?
Travis, on the first page with all the previous studies,
Yes,
I guess
sir.
you call them, was none of them have any, like the survey work or anything that could have been?
Not that a firm, various firms had done some studies, but none that would be applicable to this exact design, if that makes sense. So, and again, Kevin could probably speak to it more clearly, but we would need to do a study on this particular design to show how it would affect flood models. And previously, it's just been kind of conceptual, and now I'd be getting into...
Well, until you had the one 2 years ago, it had been 5 years before that.
Sure.
That Garber had done one in 2016. It just says Sager Creek study. It doesn't say engineering survey, anything. It just says that. in 2021, and I don't, that, I mean.
And there were.
Would have been financed in the
Sure.
previous budget, so I don't know.
So that 2021 study, they were looking at, and it's the most recent one, they were looking at a number of things. One, of course, was this dam. They were looking at assessing all the walls. They were assessing the pedestrian bridge that connects what I call the Isle of Patmos to Twin Springs Park, assessing that bridge there. There was also some discussion of what would it do to the flood models if the historic dam was removed or lowered, and how that might affect potential flooding in the basements of business owners downtown. So they looked at the most recent and broadest scope, and also the most engineering heavy. But again, it got us to some conceptual recommendations, and this would be doing the work to where the firm doing the work now would have confidence in their surveys, and then could do the construction drawings that then could go out to bid.
I mean, I was on the board in the 90s when James Fuller made clear this should be a priority, and we should have done it way back when. But to see all these different studies that, you know, have been in this century, not in the 90s, but actually this century, it's kind of like, you know, goodness, I asked about the 2021 because I just didn't know if there was something. I don't know what it cost. I don't know how thorough it was. I just didn't know if there was something that could have been done from that. But I just hate it. I hate for us to have paid money for stuff like this. And there's 5 different studies here, but then nothing really resulted from it. The other question I had was, what was it? Oh, now the map you gave us, it shows the high priority, which is the overhang in that big Maxwell Street wall. I mean,
Yes, sir.
I'm just saying stuff that could fall down.
Correct.
Right. I mean, the dam's not just gonna collapse, but those two things could easily, you know, give us disaster.
And I'll say, I think one of the reasons that the Maxwell Street wall was bumped up in priority was because there's, to my understanding, fixing to be construction nearby there, removing an old sewer line, capping it off, doing
We've
some.
had it cave in before.
Yeah.
In fact, both sides of that area.
That's right. The
South of that bridge have
this,
caved
maybe it was 2019, I can't remember. Not too long ago, there was a pretty big collapse here, just
in.
immediately
And
across the
you
street.
sit here saying, whenever you see that, how long is the rest of it going to hold up before it just all like a domino? So I was just curious. I was just glad we're getting those two.
Sure.
But right in the middle of those two, the little, well, whatever you call it, the springs that you can walk down to, is there any part of this that is including that?
Not in the current. So that's Director Allen's.
Where would that have been on the list?
That was taken out in the Twin Springs and Riverwalk conceptual.
Okay.
For the 16.3. So that would be, again, because that is such an icon for the town and is likely going to require a lot of public input of what do we exactly want to do here, that was pulled out as conceptual to allow to go through an iterative process of
Long ago they
trying to
closed it
figure
because
out.
they claimed the water was not good and everybody, it was like,
Sure.
there weren't a bunch of people going down there and drinking
Sure.
it or anything, so, but
And
that's why it was like blocked off.
I want to say it was blocked off after construction of Memorial Park for good, just because it was
long.
it was before that.
Yeah. I think, wasn't it, Judy? I think there was actually blocks put up a long time ago where nobody could walk down.
That's correct. It was
Yeah.
blocked off.
But then, there's been a lot of just local questions asked about that, and I know there's some clubs that have been talking about like trying to just help clean it up or something.
Sure.
Because it's so overgrown. Anyway, it would be nice if, even if we don't do anything to it, that we could clean it up and take down the block, the things that prevent you from using the stairwell.
Well, I think that is there because this section's collapsed and the stairs are collapsing, so it's a safety hazard, not for people drinking the water necessarily, but for people getting down there.
I didn't know it was
more
falling
or
in.
less collapsed.
Okay. Well, that answers that question. Oh, and what is H&H?
Hydraulics and hydrology, so essentially
Okay.
a floodplain model.
Yep. Thank you.
Anyone else? If not, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this contract for the Sager Creek improvements? If not, I will come back to the board, ask if there is a motion to approve the contract for the Sager Creek improvements in the amount of $332,685.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Rissler,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Carroll,
Yes.
Blair,
Yes.
Wiles.
Yes.
Motion is approved. The next items actually are kind of tied together, and we would like to ask the board if they would be in favor of us tabling these. The reason is that Mr. Allen will have to recuse himself from the vote for these. We also don't have a couple of our members here, this being a very, very important item for the future of the city of Siloam Springs and future development. I would just ask if you all would be in favor of us tabling this till our first meeting in November.
You're talking about both of them, right?
Sir?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Do we need to make a motion?
Yeah, I think if you'll, yeah, okay. Christina said we do
So,
need a
I
motion
make a
to
motion to
table.
table both.
Second.
I and
The I
J.
and J. Mhm. Do I have a second? Yes, we have a motion
Did
and
you,
a second
did
to
you say
table.
the date?
The first
November.
meeting in
Okay.
November. Are you good with that, ladies? Is that, okay? So we have a motion and a second to table. Roll call.
Allen,
Yes.
Carroll,
Yes.
Blair,
Yes.
Wiles,
Yes.
Rissler.
Yes.
Motion to table is approved. Thank you all very much. Next, we will move to the ordinances. Ordinance 23-23, second reading, amending City Municipal Code, Chapter 102, zoning, GI zone. Ben, I believe this is yours.
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you. Ben Rhodes, Senior Planner. This is the second reading to make amendments to the GI zone to increase lot coverage for those lots that are fronting right on Highway 412 that are zone GI. Since the previous reading, staff has not received any additional comments or questions, and we are available for any of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Directors? If I have nothing, then I would go to the audience. Is there anyone that would like to address ordinance 23-23? There being none, directors, do I have a motion to place ordinance 23-23 on its second reading, suspending rules, reading by title only?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Carroll,
Yes.
Blair,
Yes.
Wiles,
Yes.
Rissler,
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Christina?
I actually forgot to copy this. So, hold on just a second. An ordinance amending Chapter 102 of the Municipal Code with respect to general institutional zone building limits.
Thank you. Next is ordinance 24-23. This will be the first and only reading. Waive competitive bidding for the health insurance network and administration with Blue Cross and Blue Shield. Christina?
So the city is requesting that we continue using Blue Cross and Blue Shield as our third-party insurance provider for our self-funded insurance. We did go through a period where we switched insurers several times, and it had a very negative impact on employees. So we would like to just continue with Blue Cross. It seemed to be the most employee-friendly provider that we've used.
You. Directors, questions or comments for Christina? There being none, is there anyone in the audience? If not, I will come back to the directors and ask if I have a motion to place ordinance 24-23 on its first and only reading, suspending rules and reading by title only.
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Blair,
Yes.
Wiles,
Yes.
Rissler,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Christina?
Ordinance number 24-23, an ordinance authorizing an agreement with Blue Cross and Blue Shield and the city waiving the requirement of competitive bidding.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 24-23?
So moved.
You have a
Second.
motion and a second. Roll call?
Wiles,
Yes.
Rissler,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Carroll,
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Ordinance 24-23 is adopted. Next is our staff reports. We have the third quarter nonprofit reports. And Christina, I'll give you the floor.
So third quarter nonprofit reports are attached as per their contracts. Are any of the entities wanting to get up and speak? If not, I will continue. Okay.
I think the chamber did theirs last week.
Yeah,
They
they
did.
did, yeah.
Yes, good evening, Madam Mayor and Board. It's fun to come up here and fill you in on a few things we've done in the last few weeks. We've had two of our major fundraisers within 2 weeks of each other. So we're pretty proud of how they came off. The historic home that talked about the history of the Easterbrook family and the Selby family was a great success. And just last Saturday, we had the Tap into History, where we learned a little bit more about the Ozarks. I've not heard it recently, but you know, I've always read when I first came here to this area that we are nestled in the foothills of the Ozarks. So some of the Ozark history is also our history. So we're real thankful for that. And I'm here to answer any questions or anything you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Do we know how those fundraisers, well they did?
I'm sorry?
Do we know how the fundraisers did, what financially they did?
Not quite yet. We'll have that probably by the end of the week, especially with the last one. So yeah, be glad to send that on to you if you'd like to see that.
Anyone else?
Thank you
Mayor.
for presenting.
Yes, Reed.
Thank you for preserving our history.
You're welcome. It's a great history. We are getting ready to have 100 years of this Rotary Club that I've mentioned before. And the reason that's significant is because the history that's involved in that club. The list of people involved in that club and that became presidents of our Rotary is like a who's who in the city of Siloam's development. So it's really kind of a fun event to do. Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, David.
Mary, this is the first year to get the higher amount, right?
Yes, it is.
And it's been a long time coming, and I just wanted to say thank you for applying and getting it, because it's, I mean, you guys, everybody, I don't know if everybody knows it, but really, we wouldn't have a museum if it wasn't for the city helping to keep it funded. Of course, there's memberships, but the city is the biggest backbone, and it needs to be. And so I appreciate that the city was able to budget more last year and continue. So.
Oh, we greatly appreciate it too. And again, the museum is different in quantifying it.
Mhm.
We don't necessarily bring in a lot of revenue that affects that. So it's very hard to put dollars and cents on what the museum is.
Not like you have a product to sell, it's
Exactly,
intangible.
exactly. But I will say that we have hired a young man to help us with our media, and I think that has improved greatly. I can't remember, recently, we don't go a full week with a day that somebody doesn't drop by the museum. So our PR, so that's where it starts. So people are starting to find out about us.
Main Street connection with the, what do you call it, Minute in History, or where you guys put?
Yes, the
yeah,
minute in history that we
is
worked with
always-
Abby on.
Always very cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great.
So-
Appreciate that, Dave. Thank you.
Well, you got a lot of good things up there, and we got to preserve them. So
We do, we
I
do.
keep saying that race car, we're going to have to get it back. You know.
We need
the
to
old
have- we need to
soap
have-
Derby, that was a big deal back in the day.
We need a boxcar derby down Mount Olive. That would be fun. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Lindsay? I'm assuming you would like to say something.
Since Mary talked, I'll talk. Arthur did a little recap at the last board meeting. You guys have our report, but I just wanted to give you an update as well of what we've got going on. It was a great third quarter at the chamber. We had 14 ribbon cuttings, 22 new chamber members, 9 chamber events that we hosted, 5 partner events with Discover Siloam. And we also added 3 new events in the last quarter that will happen this quarter with our women's event, a Smart Start grant competition, and helping to bring back the Pool of Siloam Christmas display. And in the line of history, we're working with the museum. This is the 50th anniversary of the Dogwood Festival in 2024. So we'll be partnering with them as well. So we appreciate our partnerships with all of these great nonprofit organizations in the city.
Thank you, Lindsay. Any comments or questions from the board?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Reed.
thank you for what the chamber does, and especially the collaboration that you join with the rest of the community. It really speaks a lot about our unity. Thank you.
Yes.
What, David?
Lindsay, we cannot thank every staff member at the chamber for the hard work they do to continue to bring in new businesses, to continue supporting the businesses that are here, and to work with partners that want to come to Siloam. It's a huge undertaking, and as I stated, I think at the last board meeting, it's not always something that can be talked about because many times businesses don't want anybody to know until they're ready to announce it. And you guys do a great job of working with them privately. The new Edeline Kayak Company is amazing. We're going to have a manufacturer that is providing product that is actually going to be used right here. So it's really amazing that you guys have worked hard to do that, and we appreciate everything.
Thank you.
That's jobs and taxes, and we appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So with that, we will move to our administrator's report.
So expenditures in excess of $30,000 include $41,944.54 for processing chemicals at the water treatment plant. Expenditures per resolution 34-23 include $98,758.80 for AMI water meters for the water department, and $98,128.60 for elbows and fuses for the electric department. I believe that is for undergrounding. During fall cleanup, our sanitation division went above and beyond, collecting over 129 tons of trash. Their hard work makes a significant impact on keeping our community clean. This Saturday is the fall tree giveaway. The event will take place at the library parking lot from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. and each household is eligible for up to 2 trees, and there's no need to provide proof of residency. Shoptober Saturday this weekend is from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Citizens can enjoy shopping, dining options, and live music in the downtown Siloam Springs every Saturday throughout October. The final fourth Friday of the season will happen on October 27th with a Monster Mash with vendors, food trucks, a dance party, and family-friendly activities. And lastly, Siloam Springs will host the Fall Arkansas City Management Association Conference from October 25th to the 27th, and this event brings together city leaders from across the state for a collaborative and insightful experience. We will discuss a wide range of topics, including legislative updates, commercial real estate, and leadership, among others, and staff looks forward to fostering meaningful connections and sharing valuable insights during this conference. This is a conference for city management type cities, so we're not there won't be mayors from like Fayetteville or anywhere like that. We're talking Hot Springs, other cities that are our form of city government. So,
Sounds good. Thank you, Christina.
Thanks.
Anything else? No?
that's all.
Thank you very much. So with that, we are going to move into the director's reports. I would like to just start off by giving a thank you to our Hmong community. They celebrated their New Year's this last Saturday, and I was privileged to be asked to be a part of their ribbon cutting and to get to see all of their beautiful traditional clothing, and it's amazing how their culture really believes in the strength of family. They include from the very youngest to the oldest in what they do. They pass on their traditions, and it's just really fun to visit with them. They are a great group of people, and I am glad they're a part of our community. So I want to publicly say thank you for letting me be a part of that. The other thing, I want to make sure that everyone is aware that RDOT will be here. They will be here on October the 19th. They will be having a public town hall type meeting for our public officials from 11 to 12:30 at John Brown. And then later that day, it will be an open meeting for the public for any comments, questions that you might have for them, giving you an opportunity to kind of see what their plans are for the 59 project that they're looking at. That will be from 4 to 7, and that, again, will be at John Brown.
You said 59, you mean 412 to intersect?
No.
Oh,
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, the 412. It says, mandated legislation to upgrade the US 412 corridor into an interstate facility, and they're going to be discussing that and looking at plans that as they're coming along and getting
Federally
input.
mandated, right?
Yes, it is a federally mandated change.
When's the date again?
And the date is October the 19th. And for directors, 11 to 12:30. Public from 4 to 7. So I want everyone to be aware of
JBU,
that.
just
At
like
JBU.
last time.
Yes, it will be at JBU.
It was very helpful last time.
Absolutely. And apparently they have moved along in their study, and they're going to be presenting more information, and I think maybe are starting to narrow down the corridor that they are going to, what they're going to do, what has to be done in preparation for that. So I think it'll be very good, anyone that can be there. So I wanted to make sure everyone knew that. And with that, I will move to the directors. Tonight, David, we will start with you, and we will end with you, Ken. You don't ever get to see the end of the discussion.
He's
Let me
he's
look
so
up some
underprivileged.
long reading that we can.
It never gets to end.
I
so,
know.
all right.
Special.
I think that that 412 becoming interstate, I'll never forget. It was at least, I think, last year when it was first brought up, or the rumor going around, and I asked Mr. Patterson about it, and he goes, "Don't worry, it'll probably never happen in our lifetime." Well, obviously it is, thanks to the federal government saying it's got to be done, I think, in 20 years. I think they actually no later than 20 years. So, yeah, that's hopefully within our lifetime. So, anyway, I had a few things here. I appreciate the chamber pursuing the Pool of Siloam. It's been brought up several times over the years. It was something that many of us attended as children or even as adults in the 80s with our children. And it meant a lot, especially because of the history of our city name. And we appreciate the chamber taking the direction to go and pursue that. I also want to appreciate the chamber, especially Lindsay, for the work on the pro-life logo that was recently developed and for us to be able to use. Our city passed the resolution earlier this year to name our city a pro-life city, and but we've never had anything to designate it, and so I think that's a big move forward, and I appreciate it very much. I was just going to say, regarding what we heard earlier at the open hearing, a letter stating that something's redacted and unredacted, but then if you find that it's all one or the other, that doesn't mean it's a lie. I just got to get that out there. It's just kind of ridiculous to say, well, that's a lie. Our police department lied. It's a little frustrating in that interpretation is not always the way it is. And then I was glad of what our fourth Friday. I don't think anybody is going to ask it, but I do know all the words to the Monster Mash song, which was so popular in the 70s. And then I was going to, just because I've heard rumors, I was just going to put the rumors to rest that I am planning to sign up next year to run for a second term in 2024. I had 8 years in the 90s, 4 years as mayor, and then 4 years here, and they've all had separations, so contrary to anybody trying to say that I had 12 years before, it's not the same. It's broken up. It's like you start over if you don't continue, and so this will be the end of my first 4-year term, the first term at the end of last year, but I've heard people say, oh, he's not running. Well, I am planning to run. I just wanted to put that to bed. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, David. Reed?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've definitely been enjoying a burst of some cool weather. It certainly brings out some of the beauty that Siloam Springs has and gets to expose that for our viewing pleasure. I've enjoyed seeing how the museum, the chamber, and Main Street have worked in collaboration in different events. And the one thing that I definitely am not seeing is one of the groups taking all the credit. It's like you all do work well together, and you're unselfish in it. It's very much appreciated. I know Discover Siloam has been a bright spot, and it's wonderful to see how we're telling our story. So thank you.
Thank you, Reed. Lisa?
I think Director Allen was reading my notes because I actually wrote mine out. In February 2023, this board unanimously passed Resolution 1523. A lot of people think it's just about the unborn, but it's about an expansion of things. It's about the individuals with disability. It's about individuals that are elder, and it's about us agreeing that we are going to make them a priority. And so we don't want to mix it up and make it what it is not, so that people are turned away from it when they should be turned to it. It's a great thing. The state came in with their I don't know if it's not a resolution, but supporting it. And so I'm glad we are a city that's backing it. And it's obvious that it's backed by our city and our citizens because of the likes that are on the city's web, on our Facebook post. There's 200 and something loves and likes. And so I'm proud to be a part of a community like that. And I want to say thank you to the Chamber for creating an amazing logo that as usual, anything that comes out of the Chamber is amazing. The artwork, everything's always amazing. And I also want to say thank you. I think and Lindsay could tell me, is Tim Estes the one kind of heading up the pool of Siloam? And I want to recognize that Tim is putting all this effort into it because that is amazing. That's something from my childhood that I'm going to get to show my children and grandchildren that I wasn't going to get to show them. And so, I have a 6-year-old and a 30-year-old and a 31-year-old. And so now they're going to get to experience what I got to experience as a child. And so I thank the Chamber, and I thank Tim Estes for heading that up because I know it's a lot of work, but it's going to bless our community tremendously. And I want to say thank you to the museum. History is my thing. I love history. That's why we got the cabins from the Camp Siloam Springs, and we're trying to preserve them. And so I appreciate that our museum cares about our history because our history is important to who we are in the future. So thank you for all you do, Mary. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Lisa. And just to add to that note, whenever you're talking about all the artwork and things that went into this logo, Lindsay had a lot to do with putting that together. I found that out. So good job, Lindsay. Thank you very much. Betsy.
Yes, Lindsay is very gifted with all of that.
I don't really have anything. Y'all had mentioned the pro-life stuff, which there is some confusion that it is about people with special needs and the elderly and all of that. And we have some great services. The senior center in Siloam is fantastic. We've got the Manna Center, Choices, Pregnancy, Genesis House. So we have some great services, but there's always room for improvement. And I think that's all I have.
Whenever it was passed, didn't we all say that it was promoting life in general from conception all the way to death? Yeah.
That's correct. Yes, that statement was made. Yes. Thank you, Betsy. Ken, it's your turn.
Where to begin? I just want to take in the moment. I want to thank.
Been a long time since you got to also adjourn.
I know. I'm gonna get my money's worth tonight. So settle back, and we're gonna start at the beginning.
The meeting's going on until you decide.
I just wanted to say I really appreciate our staff. A day doesn't go by when, and I hope they realize this, but the job that they do impacts so many people and goes so deep, and it doesn't matter what your position is or what your tasks are for the day. It makes a difference, and we've got some great people, and I appreciate that, and I know the city does, but they don't get the recognition that they rightfully deserve. So I just want to say thank you. Other than that, I move that we adjourn.
Second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Thank you. We are adjourned.